Yeah.
Robespierre is a crazed tyrant who used his power to betray France's trust and its people themselves. During his reign, he killed around 60,000 innocent Frenchmen, some of whom the poor and struggling of France, used violence to gain power over his enemies, and betrayed his own country to those who wished to harm it and its people. All this destruction within the span of only 2 years.
I would like to say that Robespierre is not guilty of tyranny, but has, in fact, for his whole life, fought against such people. Robespierre is moral and just, and while he has certainly made some mistakes, some lapses in judgment, might I ask you, jury, who hasn't? Everything that this man has done has been motivated by his desire to do what is best for the people and protecting the general public, as well as their right to share their opinions. The definition of what a tyrant is a person exercising power or control in a cruel, unreasonable, arbitrary, or oppressive way. While both we and the prosecution state their case, I would like the jury to keep that in mind. Okay, got some questions for you. Witness, why were so many lives from the Third Estate taken? And for evidence, you can reference document 1. Yeah, document 1.
Those numbers don't really mean that much because 95% of the population was of the Third Estate, and to have like an equal test run, you'd have to have an equal amount of groups, and they're not, so they're kind of weighed against my favor.
What are your thoughts on the general will? And reference document 5.
The general will is truly amazing, and I believe that we all are children of the general will, and what is best for the public is best for everyone.
So, if you truly believe that the general will is true and just, would you consider the deaths unnecessary?
No. Before I entered the revolution, I myself didn't believe in the death penalty. However, I realized that for a revolution to truly happen in France, extreme measures must be taken. Desperate times call for desperate means, and it means fighting those who go against us and partner with the monarchy, then so be it.
In document 2, it shows how many French citizens were killed. Do you believe all of those were just killings?
Those who were shot were ones acting against the revolution in such a way that trial was not an option. I had ordered other generals to make sure those trials against the revolution and punish those who found guilty. I did not specify the means of how they were to be killed. I was never in a place of ultimate power, and nor do I ever claim to be. There was a time and period where I just lost my head, so I took a break from the committee.
So, if you truly believe that the general will, wait, no, sorry, we already did that. You spoke on how you did not believe in the death penalty. What changed?
When the Committee of Public Safety was formed, I realized that you can't make a change doing nothing. I realized that death is a huge change. However, if those power and remain in power, revolution will not happen, and all our efforts would be for nothing.
Why did you take the lives of Catholic priests, and so many of them?
Just because they claim to be moral and religious men, that doesn't mean that they are. Just because they use the guise of religion does not mean that they, just like the rest of us, are exempt from review. Their lives were taken because they wronged the French public, lied about it, and continued to lie about it.
How did they wrong the French public?
They claimed to help the poor and struggling, and yet, just like the monarchy, there was no help. They were the same. Those higher up in the church structure profited from donations, and rather than putting the money towards starving families and children, they kept it for themselves.
So, what are your thoughts on those with differing political views?
I thoroughly believe that those with differing opinions should be able to share their beliefs in a civil manner. Debate in the committee is essential for progress. It is encouraged that the French Republic should tolerate and reason with these views.
If that's so, why kill those that seem to have opposing opinions?
Those opposing the revolution is different than those bringing up different political ideas. Those who bring different ideals will debate and have a conversation with the committee, not actively limit the progress of revolution. That would mean the trial for those who are being questioned, if we were to let them be. We'd still have people like King Louis oppressing the voices of the French people.
So in document 8, Desmoulins, a friend of yours, had seemed to demote and even berate the use of guillotines for revolutionary purposes. What are your thoughts on that? Why would you tell him to get rid of his paper stating that?
Towards the end of the reading, I started to lose myself. Everyone around me was divided. Desmoulins' view didn't differ far from my old ones, and the committee is truly only trying to do what's right. Although I disagree with Desmoulins' view on the guillotine, I do believe he should have the right to share those opinions.
Hello?
However,
cut
Do
it.
I have Kaylee Huff?
Callie.
Callie, I'm sorry. Yes, but they're in the middle of a debate.
I feel like when the judge takes a phone call
Okay,
in the
thanks.
middle of your trial.
It's like a Geico commercial.
Stop by the office at some point.
Okay.
I do believe he should have the right to share those opinions. However, I am no fool and understand that Jacobin wouldn't be as lenient. There are many things I disagree with the Jacobin on, like their missions of violence. However, I'm not oblivious to their power. I did not wish for his downfall and wanted him to burn his journal. He did not listen, and I was being stupid and did not intervene when the committee called him for trial and when his journal was found. I knew they would. That is one of the main reasons why I took a break, to fully comprehend the power that this community had.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you aware that between the time 1793 and 1794, it was called the Reign of Terror?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Between 1793 and 1794, 60,000 French were killed under the Reign of Terror, as seen on page 2, document 2. Were these crimes for any particular crime?
They were for limiting the progress of revolution.
The jury may please refer to page 3, document 5, which says that Robespierre claims to be a child of Rousseau's general will, which states that civil nations never for any reason should engage in execution of their citizens, no matter how horrible the crime. What was the point of all of these innocent executions?
When I was part of the committee, we went around and thought about ideas of how to handle this situation, and it was seen that the best way to do it is through the death penalty.
Since you consider yourself a child of the general, stating that for any reasons nations should not engage in crime, doesn't that include the revolutionaries revolting against you?
It does, but if you're limiting the progress of power, then there's going to stay a monarchy. Then nothing can change.
Isn't it true that you killed 2 of your friends/colleagues at the end of the Reign of Terror?
I myself did not kill them. I did not stop their deaths, which I thoroughly regret. And afterwards, I did step away from the committee and from a lot of political views in France for a little bit.
Do you consider yourself a moral man?
I do.
So you consider the killing of the poor moral?
No.
So why did you do it then if you're a moral man?
Order in the court.
It wasn't just because they were poor. I treat everyone the same because equality is a huge thing.
But then
So if you're poor and you're doing something wrong, then you should be trialed for it.
But if you refer to document 12, the only question left were defenseless peasants caught with a load of bread, and they were on the scaffold of execution.
That doesn't really explain why they were on execution, though. I'm not killing people just because they're poor. I'm killing people because they're limiting the progress of revolution.
So you do consider yourself moral.
Yes.
Would you say you're a hypocrite?
I mean, sometimes.
Then how come you would say, oh, well, you said sometimes.
I mean,
You
everyone's a
say-
hypocrite.
You want to remove all of your enemies by guillotine. Has there ever been such a folly? But is that not exactly what you did?
That is not exactly what I did. I told a bunch of people that were in charge that you need to control those going against the revolution. And so, yes, that does involve a trial, and yes, that does involve a lot of death by guillotine. But I never told them specifically, you need to kill these people by guillotine. You need to kill these people by hog tying them and drowning them. That wasn't me.
But it all happened under your rule, correct?
It wasn't under my rule. I wasn't a committee. I had a high place in the committee, but I was not ruling over France. That'd be stupid because
So
I'm
what-
fighting against that.
So what you're saying is you had no idea that these people were being killed in this manner.
I had an idea of how they were being killed. I was just not the one telling them to kill like that.
So you had an idea of the way in which they were being killed and you didn't stop it at all.
I didn't, and I do regret it. But there's a part of my life where I was so conflicted with why this was happening and how this stuff was happening that I did take a step back because I just couldn't handle it.
Jury, I would like to claim that not only is Robespierre immoral, he is a fervent hypocrite. If you refer to documents 8 and 10. In document 8E, once again, I'll repeat it for you. You want to remove all your enemies by guillotine. Has there ever been such a folly? Yet no more than 7 months later, he says, use the full weight of authority to crush, destroy, and decimate those who halt the progress of reason and revolution. I myself do not think that is moral, and don't think someone who is moral could do such things. I rest my case.
Look, jury, I don't sit here and claim that Robespierre has done nothing wrong in his life, and I'm not here to say that he's never made any mistakes, but what I am here to say is that his actions were for the good of the people. He did what was necessary in order to protect the people. If he were a tyrant, would he have changed his opinion on execution? Would he have acted as a part of a consensus? Would he have waited for the vote of his constituents to see the outcome of the vote before taking any action? While not everything he has done has been good, he has done it for good reason. I will end my closing statement the same way I ended my opening statement, with the definition of a tyrant, being a person exercising power or control in a cruel, unreasonable, or arbitrary way. Jury, please ask yourselves if that definition truly fits. Thank you.
Robespierre is responsible for the crippling of France, of which it may never recover. He is responsible for the massacre of over 1,800 in Lyon, 10,000 in Vendée, 800 in Toulon, and 400 in Bordeaux. 20,000 shot or blown apart, 16,000 guillotined, 10,000 die in prison, 10,000 still missing to this day, 4,000 hogtied and drowned, all under his watchful, moral eyes. Every single one were innocent Frenchmen through and through and did not deserve to die. Robespierre is a monster to the French nation, and the punishment should be no other than death.